calling to order the August 18th, 2014 regular meeting of the 35th Council of the City of Berkley. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard?
Here.
Councilmember Edgar?
Here.
Councilmember Kadeko?
Here.
Councilmember Stedman?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack?
Here.
And Mayor O'Dwyer.
Here. The first order of business is the approval of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve tonight's agenda. Support.
Approved by Councilmember Cadeckel with support by Councilmember Blanchard. Are there any changes, additions? Seeing none, then Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Blanchard?
Yes.
Edgar?
Yes.
Kadeko?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, I don't see Deacon Brian Carroll with us this evening, so we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we come to the Citizens' Comments portion of tonight's meeting, when you may present your thoughts on issues that are not included on tonight's agenda. Council members will not engage you in discussion. If your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or a department of the city, please sign your name on the sheet provided at the clerk's table. You may speak on a specific agenda item when it is being discussed. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and city of residence.
Ann Kane, Berkley, Michigan. I have two quick questions. Trash pickup, or basement trash pickup, I should say. What's the agenda for that? I know it's on delay, but what's the delay? Where's the information coming out to inform the residents of statuses? And also, what happened? There are some streets where 3 houses down, there's nothing. They didn't have any problems, and the rest of us have been devastated. So is there a civil engineer, somebody who can relate to us what's going on, what the problems are with the infrastructure?
Okay, thank you.
Dylan Meyer, Berkley, Michigan. I have a number of concerns. I've been a resident here for 8 years. I love the city of Berkley. I had no plan of moving here, but I did, and I really have enjoyed it. I am as frustrated as I think I've ever been, as well as disappointed in the city of Berkley. I feel like, and one of my neighbors put it very aptly, I live on Mortensen. She said, we feel like the city of Berkley has forgotten us. No one is saying anything. We've heard really nothing from the city manager. We've heard nothing, any kind of statement from you, Mr. Mayor, and it's frustrating. And we've all, most of us, on my block between Lockmore and Harvard, lost everything. I had about 3 feet of water that I came home to, of sewage, and I've lost everything, including all of my appliances. And to get the runaround, as I feel that I have, from both Public Works, the city, when is the trash going to be picked up? It's like, I mean, no disrespect meant, but it's like Beirut in Berkeley. And they said everything would be picked up before Dream Cruise. It is not. I was told today East and West Streets are being worked on. They are not. I have seen very, very, very few trucks. I came over today to pay my, my almost $200 bill to Berkeley. I wanted to speak with Jane, but Ms., I came to talk to you. Your door was shut by your assistant, and she talked to me as if I was a 5-year-old, explaining to me what had happened. I know what happened. I lost everything. Everything. My memories, all of my contents. So I'm very frustrated. I'm concerned about the probability of rats. There are flies, there are scavengers. I don't understand where the police are. I've seen very few policemen. And in my opinion, the Berkeley police have always done a great job. I see them all the time. I haven't seen them. Yet I have transient people going through my trash, opening it up, taking things out. It's kind of scary. If you have kids, you can't let your kids go out. So I guess I just want to know, oh, and tonight would be the night I would put my garbage out. Do I put out more garbage or do I not? Recycle, do I put it out or do I not? I don't know. No one's telling us. So we just need to have some information. The last time the website was updated was August 15th. Very little information. So it's frustrating. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is George Stevens, City of Berkeley. I feel this is going to be a broken record probably for most of the evening, but I just wanted to echo what the other two said. I mean, it's Friday, or was our scheduled trash pickup. Some people's were Tuesday, and nothing's being done. August 15th was the last time the website was sent, and in this day and age of information, how we don't know anything that's coming out from a city that we pay taxes to is mind-boggling to me. I have 3 children. They can't play outside. They can't because of the trash, because of possible rodents, because of people rummaging through the trash. I mean, supposedly the police were going to be coming by and issuing tickets, and we haven't seen anything. You know, the city of Berkeley put on a real heck of a show on Friday night, you know, coming down 12 Mile. But when the real people of Berkeley are unloading their basements of their possessions, their memories, their appliances, where was the city then? You know, it was a big superficial show that was on Friday, and nothing was being done for the people that were actually paying the taxes. It's just, I'm completely frustrated. I love this city. I've lived here for 4 years. I rented 4 years before that, and it's just, where's my money going? What's gonna happen? I mean, it's, you know, I call the trash and like, we're working on it. Well, what does working on it mean? If we don't have trash pickup, I should understand what are you guys doing to try to make sure trash is getting picked up? What's going to happen with claims? You know, this says submit a claim. We might be able to get some relief. Well, what kind of relief are we going to get? What are you guys doing for this with the state, with the county, with the federal government, with FEMA? We are left in the dark. And that's all I really want to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Erica Chef, City of Berkeley. I originally moved here because the police were so strict, and here is where I got my first ticket. And yet, I don't see the police out. I am so frustrated by the garbage pickers. I live on Mortensen here in Berkeley, and they're constantly going through my garbage. These Sanford and Son trucks, please stop them. It's obvious when somebody doesn't live in our neighborhood. And, you know, we even have some trash pickers that live in our neighborhood. There's got to be an ordinance that we can't be running businesses out of our driveways. The other thing is the submit a claim. I need more information about that. How am are you guys going to financially provide relief or not? I guess those are my 2 concerns that I'd like addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gene Dixon, 1964 Rosemont, and I really, in a sense, give really kudos to the city of Huntington Woods, who was straight about what took place. They called it a sewer backup. Unlike Berkeley, we talked about a record rainfall. The rain didn't cause this, okay? I would like to find out what the city knows about what happened with the storm drains in Wayne and Oakland County that are handled by MDOT. Were all of those pumps working? Were those pumps not working? If they weren't working, it should be a state issue. And the city of Berkeley should be dealing with the state of Michigan to get reimbursement for the residents of the city of Berkeley. The other observation I'll make is I sort of wonder where the city's going. I was coming here this evening. I looked at the Welcome to Berkeley sign on Coolidge. It's a tired, old sign. Is this the kind of community that we want? And the other thing is, I'd like to know when what's being done in terms of getting a property reassessment for the citizens of Berkeley, because I can imagine the property values are not what we may wish they were based on storm sewage backup into our basements with two or 3 feet of sewer water. It's not acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Georgia Dixon. I live in Bloomfield at the present time, but I have been a resident of Berkeley. I graduated from Berkeley High in 1968, so I've got a 50-year history here. I am currently a landlord in Berkeley, and as a landlord, believe me, Mrs. Vance and Mr. Franks hold the highest standards for me to make sure my property is in tip-top shape. The last time I had an inspection, this was a part that I had to buy because I was not in compliance. You know what this is? This is a backflow valve that I had to go and purchase to make sure there's no backflow into my basement from the spigot, the hose on the outside, and also on my, laundry tubs, etc. I mean, there are bigger fish to fry in the city of Berkeley to keep the residents safe, free from disease, illness, looters, garbage pickers, whatever you want to call it. And as well, having this no parking on the streets in Berkeley, I assume it from 2 to 4 or 3 to 5, whatever it is in the night. If you're using police and manpower to ticket people or patrol the streets, you really have bigger issues to take care of to protect the citizens and make this a very nice community that it's always been. And that's why I've been here. It's a double standard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Marilyn Sullivan. I live in Berkeley and have been here 35 years. And I have to agree with the first woman that spoke. I'm extremely disappointed in our city. I've always had such pride living here because of our services, things that are offered to us, feel like we have a safe neighborhood. Going on almost 3 years ago now, I had an attempted break in my home. The police department was fabulous, but I've seen one police car on my street since this started. I did get a phone call returned to me from the DPW. Today, I talked to someone, one of your clerks, Ms. DeSessa, on Thursday about coming home and having no parking posted on our street because we are the first block off from Woodward for the lovely Dream Cruise. And we were informed that construction people could park there, but residents couldn't. Whether your driveway was full or not, they would not honor a parking permit overnight. Somebody dropped the ball here big time. And if this size of disaster happened and this lack of response is what we are seeing, what in God's name happens if we have a chemical attack, we have a tornado come through here, we have something more drastic than this. And every home on our street, but 3 because they had waterproofing and probably backflow valves on their sewers, everybody was devastated. I was lucky, my basement isn't finished, but I still lost everything in it. And it's the lack of response, it's the laissez-faire attitude. Boy, I agree with this gentleman, 12 Mile Road looked grand for the cruisers. I had more compassion from out-of-town people stopping on my street, asking me, my God, what happened here? Oh, we had a sewer backup. Don't let them kid you, it was a flood. It was sewer water. Nothing came in through the outside. It came through my drain. It came through my neighbor's toilets. That's not a flood. That is somebody didn't flip a switch, somebody's pumps weren't working, and quit pushing it under the rug. Somebody needs to be responsible. The people running this city get paid a lot of money to run it, and management needs to get their act together. You need to have an action plan when we have a disaster. When the Red Cross is on my street announcing disaster here is a cleanup kit, do you need it? Can we give you anything? I understand now what the people of Katrina felt like, and we only had this much of it. Think about it, because my taxes are due in a couple weeks. I don't know, maybe I should put that $2,000 towards my repairs in my basement. What do you think? Because I don't think insurance is gonna cover this for me.
Thank you. Anybody?
Good evening, members of council, mayor. Thank you for your time. Steve Burns, 2328 Mortensen. 2 foot of sewer water in the basement. Has a beautiful, not even a year old, $13,000 waterproofing system on it. It was a sewer backup. Sump pump, bone dry. My wife and I are on our 3rd house in Berkley. We love Berkley. It's a great community, great public safety, great DPS department. But there's a couple of questions that I have related to disaster preparedness. Does this city have a disaster preparedness plan? Because if you do not, and your city manager cannot go over to a shelf and grab that book off of it, or your building director, or your DPW director, for anything other than a police incident, because I know they have their stuff together at the police department. But if you do not have a disaster preparedness plan for this community, then each of you have failed everyone in this room and everyone who lives here. You have to do that. You have to have that. It is essential for every community, not just for police incidents, for storms, tornadoes, floods. You have to do that. And if you're not doing it, you're failing to plan, because this can happen, obviously, at any time. And if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. All the effort that goes into Dream Cruise, which I'm a big fan of and I love, if someone just takes the time to put the plan together for these types of incidences, to improve the communication to all of us about trash. I can't tell you how many posts are out there from every other community except Berkley, Royal Oak, Madison Heights, Warren, Huntington Woods. Come on, people. You have to plan. You have to have certain individuals who are in charge when these things happen, and then a delegation of authority if that person is not available all the way down the line. This is not rocket science. If you don't have someone on staff that can put that plan together, then hire the necessary consultants to put that plan together for you and use it. Because you save lack of communication, creates frustration, creates anger, and everyone up and down our block on Mortensen is seeing the same things. Yes, there are certain houses that have not been affected. Those people probably had a backflow preventer on their system. It's that simple. I get it. This is no one's fault for the rain falling, but the response and the lack of information being put out there, someone should be held responsible for that. Someone should take responsibility for that and say that we're not going to let this happen again for our residents, our community, our neighbors. We're all neighbors here. And probably some of you had damage to your basements too. So I feel for everyone in this room. I still love Berkley, but Berkley, we got to do a better job. We're not Podunk Township out in the middle of Timbuktu. I used to live in one of those townships many years ago. I could have got a better response there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else wishes to comment? I think that it would be helpful if perhaps Mr. Sessa, you would give a summary at this point in the meeting
Okay.
of what has been the process thus far, where things are now to the best of your knowledge, and where we're going from here.
Be pleased to, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank all the residents for coming. I appreciate your comments. The report that I'm about to give to you is a report that is to the best of my knowledge. This is what I have been informed. I've spoken with our officials. I've spoken with our professionals, and this is what they tell me is happening in our community. So with that, let's talk a little bit about, what happened. And I know I've heard a couple of comments made about the sewer system and things of that nature. Yes, we have a combined system for both our water and our sewer. So could some of the septic go back into your home? Yes, it could, because it is combined. That could happen. But what caused this, obviously, and we all know this, was the rain. We received about 4.5 inches of rain that fell in about 4 hours on the evening of August the 11th. As a matter of fact, some media outlets actually reported over 6 inches of rain in our city on that day. Usually, 4 to 6 inches of rain typically falls over a course of 2 to 3 months. Our engineers have determined that, again, this is our engineer speaking and telling us what they believe was the cause, was that based on the amount of rain and the duration, they call it a 300-year rain event. Now, this caused our sewers to not be able to handle this amount of water in such a short period of time. From what we get from other reports, when we hear from our engineers, they feel that our sewers did indeed work as they should have. Unfortunately, they could not handle the amount of rain in this short period of time. So what are we doing? Since day one, we have been working around the clock. Our staff has been answering phone calls that have come in, not just to City Hall, but also to Public Safety and also at our Public Works Department. We are working on trash issues, and I'll give a little bit more detailed report in terms of the issue with regards to trash. The city also experienced some facility repairs the last beginning of this time frame. City Hall was affected. A good portion of this room was also underwater. We did also experience some flooding here at City Hall in our basement, and we had to make it as safe as we could quickly for our department. I know that we could not hold court in this room for a couple of days. Many of our city employees, especially here at City Hall, could not work, more specifically our finance department. We had to move them to some other areas in order so they could work. But this whole half portion of City Hall was also flooded. Our ice arena as well was flooded. We had to do some major repairs. And again, we have summer programs that are out there, so we had to address them quickly because there are children obviously there. We had to go out there and clean. We asked many of our part-time employees to come back and help us with the cleanup there. And then also there was some repairs, some flooding, although not as much as these other two facilities in our public safety building. So we had to make sure that we addressed them as quickly as we could so that we could function. We also assisted other communities when it came to providing service. As a matter of fact, we assisted the city of Oak Park when it came to dispatch. Their dispatch system was completely under. And so our public safety department had to, well, not had to, but we wanted to. We wanted to assist them as well, and worked with them with helping them to dispatch information out to them. So those are just some of the key things that happened almost immediately when the rains came. What are we doing right now? As you know, or at least I hope you know by now, we have placed this on our website. On August 15th, we received information from Oakland County regarding the process for declaring what they call a state of emergency. And so that was the first step. We did undertake that step, and we did what they call a damage survey. And in this survey, which we needed to do it very, very quickly in a short amount of time, we need to identify the minor and major damage to homes, businesses, and municipal buildings. That information has been sent to the county, and the mayor has declared a state of emergency for the city of Berkeley. Now, currently, we are also working on putting together some more information that the county has asked for us to do, and this is part of the disaster recovery process. And here we're giving them information with regards to homes, what type of damage was done at the home, how much rain was incurred by those homes, and so forth and so on. We have not received any information from FEMA as to what types of forms residents can use in order to fill. So we're still at the county level for providing information. Let me see with regards to the state of emergency. That is all right now, at least where we're at. We're still at the phase where we're providing information. We need to provide these reports to them by tomorrow at 3 p.m. We're using a lot of the information that the residents are giving to us with regards to their claims. It's very good when people are descriptive in the claims. Information, one of the things that they're looking for us to provide is the amount of rain or water that went into homes. And we appreciate that. As a matter of fact, our Public Works Director, I know he spent a lot of time today contacting residents to make sure that we could provide that information for him. One of the other things that our city is doing, and I'm really sorry to say that maybe perhaps we haven't, for lack of a better word, honked our horn out a lot, but our Public Works crew, for example, they've been working all week. Unlike a lot of cities out there, we're using our Public Works crew to go out there and collect trash. They've done it already several times throughout the city, and we're using our own trucks to go out there and help pick up trash because the haulers, everybody is so backlogged. We're not the only city that's going through this, and unfortunately, even our hauler, I think, is at his max as well. We are looking at perhaps acquiring some type of container to place at our public works facility so that residents can perhaps assist us by taking some of the trash there. But the problem we have with that is we cannot even find a container. Can I please finish? I promise I will get you this information. But having said that, we have contracted with another company to get some trucks and again have our staff go out there and collect trash ourselves. So we are doing that. We're not waiting for our hauler to pick up the trash. We are doing this ourselves, and there are very few cities in our region that's actually doing that. I know that we were out there Saturday, and we were also out there Sunday. Unfortunately, we could only do it until 2 p.m. because at that time, both our transfer stations, one's located in Troy and the other one is located in Madison Heights, and they were told that they were at their full and we could no longer take any more at that point, so we had to stop. But we hope once we get some information from them that we'll be able to come back and again do some more collection. So that's what we're doing with regards to trash. And residents can receive or obtain a copy of the claim form. You can either go on our website or you can go just come here at City Hall and pick up a copy, and we'd be happy to explain how to fill out the form and what kind of information is needed. Also, Oakland County and the state of Michigan has set up 2 host information meetings. The first one was, I believe, held today in Troy. But they've also scheduled another one, and this is in the city of Southfield, and that's where we're asking our residents to please go. It's on August the 20th and 21st from 11 a.m. to 7. Residents can sit and meet with a representative from Human Services, various volunteer organizations, including various Oakland County agencies such as the Health Division, Homeland Security. We also receiving representatives from the state of Michigan. Again, this is the state police, the American Red Cross, and the Salvation Army would also be there. Now, I know there's a lot of questions on trash, and I sincerely wish that I had answers. We too are seeking some of those answers with our contractors. And unfortunately, the only thing I have to report is I think I've spoken to many of you here, is for now, the trash delays will continue. Our trash hauler, Tringali, is working overtime to continue to remove property that was caused by last week's extreme rainfall. They are still several days behind because of the sheer volume of discarded items. Our Public Works employees are working 12-hour shifts. They're cleaning debris. And as I said, we've rented additional equipment to help us with trash support. It's estimated that we've collected 10 times more the usual trash tonnage that we usually receive within a week. We do expect additional items to be placed on our curbside throughout the next few days, and again, we will do our best to find ways where we can help individuals remove the trash as quickly as possible. And we are encouraging residents to follow our guidelines so that we can collect them on the curbside. Again, unfortunately, even as of this second, I wish I could tell you that there was an exact date as to when we're going to be able to collect your trash. I don't have an answer at this time. We do not have a schedule from our own contractor, Tringali, as to when they think they can start collecting trash. All the haulers at this time in our region, they're overwhelmed, and they're doing their best to keep up. Another concern that we have is with regards to trash rummagers. I know there have been made some concerns about that. We have reported this to our Public Safety Department. They are out there looking for it. We do have an ordinance that addresses scavengers. We don't permit that in our community. Again, Public Safety is out there looking for this. However, if you feel that you have a concern or you feel threatened when you see some of these individuals out there, please don't hesitate to contact our Public Safety Department. Our DPW has limited garbage bag stock. We will be requiring some ID. We are running low on that as well, and right now we're only doing 1 box of bags per address. We're trying to do our best to spread it as much as we can, but we are running low. You've also heard me say about this notice of claim. This is with regards to our insurance company. Once the form is filled out and completed, what we do is we will send it to our insurance company. Our insurance company will then contact the individual and address any questions or any other information that they may need. But that's coming through our insurance company. As I stated earlier, we don't have any information from FEMA or the state or the federal government. We're still at the collection process. We are collecting data so that they can tell us what are the next steps to follow. But for now, at least for the city of Berkeley, we are asking residents to submit a claim. You can get a copy of the claim either by going on our website, or as I said, you can come here to City Hall. Now, our website address is www.berkleymich.org. You can also get this information if you have been able to download our mobile app. We've added this information as well to that, and you should be able to download it through your printer. Obviously, unfortunately, we've also heard about a couple of scams that are out there. We've had some individuals say that they are selling materials such as furniture and things of that nature. We're asking you to please be aware, please be leery. We posted a couple of recommendations as to how to address these scanners. One of the things that we're suggesting is that, please utilize a contractor that perhaps you've used in the past. Talk to your family and friends and your neighbors for recommendations. You may also want to talk to your insurance agent for suggestions. Of course, you should also check the Better Business Bureau to take a look at these various contractors, and you might be able to get some complaint histories as well. We also recommend that you try to get at least 3 to 4 estimates to compare prices. And again, please make sure that these contractors provide the state licensing, registration, bonding, and insurance requirements. Again, we sincerely ask, obviously you can use the contractors that whomever you choose, but we ask that you don't use contractors that just simply show up to your door unannounced. We suggest that they leave their card with you and allow you to do some research before you hire them. We also recommend that you get some type of written contract that clarifies and defines the exact work that you're asking them to do before the work gets started. Obviously, the contract can be amended as the work proceeds. We also recommend that you not pay the full amount until the work is complete. It's obviously not uncommon for contractors to require deposits. It's usually between 20 and 30%. Obviously, this is going to take some time, and obviously, this is your choice. These are just recommendations that we're suggesting. We're also asking you to take a look at any signs of trouble that you may see with regards to your subcontractors, such as electricians, plumbers, wallboard installers, or suppliers. Again, please be careful. We'd be happy to assist you in any way that we can. You can contact our building department. Any updates for this flood event is posted on our city website. And as I said, you can also receive it on our mobile app. Now, you can also get this information on our cable. Early on, we placed this information on our cable station. So if you have WOW, for example, please go to Channel 10. If you have Comcast, go to Channel 53, and you can get that information. Now, one of the things that I've recently done as well so that we can have one person to address all your questions is I've identified one individual in our communications division, and the phone number, if you want to call us directly, is 248-658-3300. And as soon as you call and you hear the prompt, please dial or press option 2. That will take you immediately to our communications person, and she will answer the phone. Obviously, if it's busy or she's busy, just leave a message and she will call you back as quickly as possible. All of this information is on various items throughout our community. We've been doing this since day one. We've placed it on Facebook. We've added it to our mobile site. We've done also on our cable. And of course, you can call us if you have any questions or concerns. Again, we're doing our best to try to address as many of your concerns. This is not a usual thing for us, and we do meet with our employees on a regular basis to do checkups to make sure that we're addressing the problems as quickly as we can. We thank you for your cooperation, and we appreciate your patience. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Very few people. Yes, sir.
If I could just ask one question. With all
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Yes, I can.
We are not going to have a discussion back and forth. You can ask one question. We're done.
I would just say the concern I have is with, in that sense, the knowledge that our city manager has of really what the real issues are here. In the sense of placing a dumpster and telling people to pull their junk over there, it's absurd, okay? And to speak about a record 300-year rainfall, there's no point in anybody filling out an insurance claim and giving it to the city if the city has already decided this is due to rain. If it's due to rain and it's not due to, I didn't have my windows open and the rain came in, it's a sewer backup.
Okay.
Call it what it is,
That's fine. Thank you. Mr. Sessa.
May I just clarify? Please know, residents, we can't even find a container. If indeed we wanted to do something like place a container so that you can take that, we don't have one. We cannot get one. There is, again, we're trying our best to remove your trash is what we're trying to do. That's one of the reasons we examined it. But for the record, Mr. Mayor, we don't have that right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a historic event in our city. I've been living here for 34 years, and I have not seen anything like this. My basement, like yours, we're all in the same boat, and I know my colleagues here, we're all in the same boat with our insurances and trying to deal with FEMA and trying to figure out what's going on. So very few have been untouched by this in our city and in the region generally. Estimates for Berkley put the figure at a cost of $46 million. That if we were to add up what each of us has lost in this whole experience. Water in your basement causes overwhelming distress for everyone. We all experience it. And the personal loss, the property, the memories that are associated with those things that we have. It's very, very difficult. And to see then, when we look out our window, that the garbage that we dragged out of the water is still on the sidewalk, enormously frustrating for every one of us. Now, with regard to our employees, I want to tell you that our public safety officers and our public works staff, many of whom live in this city and or the region, left the water in their own basements to come and help the rest of us. And I admire that commitment to their job, to their task. They can't be everywhere. They can't do everything. It is overwhelming. City Hall flooded, and we're all calling in. We're calling in just as you're calling in to know, what do we do next? What's next? Questions about insurance. How do we fill out these claim forms? Are we going to get state or federal assistance? These are questions that aren't answerable yet. These are questions that will be answered when the governor makes his decision to place the application at FEMA's door. I don't know how long that will take. We have been on conference calls with the governor's office and with Brooks Patterson's office in the county, trying to come up with procedures. Somebody asked about having a plan. You know, we're supposed to have a county-wide disaster plan, and we do. But trying to get it to work and move along isn't always as easy as reach up to the shelf and pick something down and follow from A to B to C to D. But the fact that we declared a state of emergency in Berkley puts all of us in line, and our businesses in line for whatever the state or FEMA will do by way of some sort of compensation. I don't see any guarantee that we're going to get much of anything, to tell you the truth. But we're in line for whatever decisions they make. That's as much as we could do at this level. With regard to the website, we need to do a better job with that website in terms of a couple of times a day it needs to be updated with whatever newer information we have. Because in today's technological age, that's how communication happens. And one of the difficulties I feel is that when you don't see some information on the website, you are prone to conclude nobody cares. Nobody is doing much about it. The garbage is still there. Why is it still there? When is it going to be picked up? And I think more effective communication would at least ease people's mind that somebody does care and the system is in place to try to make it happen. We spent $46,000 on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of last week with extra trucks and people. And of course, as you noticed, the very minute garbage is picked up outside your home, there's more to replace it. That has been my experience, at least in my house. There's an adequate supply of more stuff in the pipeline to go out when the stuff already out. And I suspect many of you have the same experience. So the financial losses are enormous for people. The emotional pain is significant here and should not be overlooked. In all of this, I'd like to thank the residents who phoned into City Hall, who sent emails, who sent cards, thanking our employees for the effort that they're making to try to deal with this, shall we say, mess. We are encouraged by their support and yours. Your questions are legitimate, absolutely legitimate. And we want to move forward together to clean up the city so that we can recapture the beauty of our hometown. And it is going to require patience from all of us, so that we can pursue this goal together. The distress is so great that we are all a bit more irritable than we typically are, and on edge more than we might be at other times. And so we have to try to work through this together. I believe you're absolutely right. Communication is a key, absolutely a key. We are spending your money to try to get more trucks. Now we have a problem at the delivery end, and we have to see how the county suggests we get around that. These are very difficult issues. They are not of our making, and they do not reflect a lack of attention to detail, because there is a passion and a level of competency in our employees that is unparalleled, and we are fortunate to have them. We could talk this issue into the ground, but we need to, I think, improve the information flow. That will be the first help. The phone, Jane, Mr. Sessa,
Yes,
can
Chris.
you give us that phone number again?
Yes, I'd be happy to. For information, any questions, please don't hesitate to call us at 248-658-3300. Once you dial and you hear the message, just press option 2, and you will get an individual to at least respond to you as soon as possible. Of course, again, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I encourage everyone to please visit our website, and then also take a look at us on Facebook, because this information is also placed on Facebook. And download our app, please, because through that, we'll be able to send you some information through the phone. And one more thing, for those of you that subscribe to our newsletter, we have an electronic newsletter. We send email information out to our residents as well, and we've been doing that as well. For those of you that are part of our subscription, we've been doing that as well, giving people information. So please sign up for that, and we'll get to you as quickly as we can. Again, thank you very much for coming, and as the mayor said, we understand, and we will do better at communicating. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then we are ready to move on to the next portion of the meeting, which is the consent agenda. Ms. Boucher, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
Approval of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of the regular 35th City Council meeting on Monday, July 21st, 2014. Approval of the warrant. Matter of approving warrant number 1281.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman. Support. Support by Councilmember Blanchard. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Edgar,
Yes.
Yes.
Kadeko, Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now we move on to the regular agenda. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 1?
Recognitions, presentations, matter of any recognitions or presentations from the consent agenda.
Seeing none, then we move on to the second item. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 2?
Motion number M5814, matter of approving special use approval, granting Coco Fairfields 2959 12 Mile approval for a sidewalk cafe from August 19, 2014 to October 31st, 2015.
Is there a motion to approve M5814?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Edgar, support by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to abstain as Coco Fairfields is a client of mine, and I feel that would be a conflict.
Without objection, then we can let Councilmember Kideckel abstain. Mr. Sessa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I know you've read this item on your package. Our city planner, Ms. Amy Vanson, is here with us this evening, and she can provide us with a brief overview in terms of what the Planning Commission is recommending to the City Council. As you can see, they did hold the proper hearings with regards to this issue. The Planning Commission is recommending approval of the submitted plans. There are some conditions that have been placed as well, but I'll ask the city planner to go over these items with you. So with that, Ms. Vanson.
Good evening. Coco Fairfields, which is at 2959 12 Mile Road, was interested in putting out a couple of tables and 4 chairs out on the sidewalk. This is something that the City of Berkeley does allow. However, because it is public right-of-way, it is an annual renewal. And the first approval comes before the Planning Commission and City Council, similar to a special land use. If there are no problems with it during the first year, then it is administration renews it, unless there are any problems with it. As it says in the motion itself. Planning Commission did recommend that that this only go with Coco Fairfields, and should Coco Fairfields be sold or another restaurant come in, that restaurant, if they wanted to have a sidewalk cafe, would have to come back before the city for that renewal. Because they did apply, somehow summer comes every year, but everybody forgets about it, and they don't think about the process involved. Because they did apply once summer started, I have recommended that they get an extra year's worth because summer is so brief. So you'll notice that the motion is for August 19th, 2014 to October 31st, 2015. So they won't have to come back before the city for next year. They'll get an extra season out of it. And they've already put their chairs and tables out, and it looks pretty nice, I think. Do you have any questions?
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Vanson? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks for preparing the material. Curious in terms of the service and the smoking ban and all that stuff. How does that pertain with outdoor seating, as if they were inside?
If there's wait staff, if there's servers, then it can't be. You can't have smoking. They are only going to have this as carry out, so I imagine folks will be able to smoke there, similar like they would if it was a city bench or something like that. So as long as there's not servers that have to deal with the secondhand smoke, then you can't have smoking.
Okay, so I think you answered. There'll be no wait staff out there. Or anything
Correct.
Like that,
yes,
so
it's just if you wanted to purchase something for carry out and go sit outside, if you had your dog with you or something like that, you could use those tables.
Thank you.
Any additional items on this? Very good. Seeing none, then Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M5814?
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Edgar,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 3?
Motion number M5914, matter of amending the city's fee schedule effective October 1st, 2014, outlined on attachments.
Is there a motion to approve M5914?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Councilmember Kideckel.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Edgar. Mr. Sessa.
Council, one of the items or responsibilities that Ms. Vanson does is to make sure that we're able to recover our costs on several of the things that we do. And so once a year, she comes before you and identifies those items. I'd like to ask her to please step up and go over those items with us. And again, please be as specific as you can.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, ideally, it's once a year. This year, it ended up being, I wrote a memo to staff and to DPW in May, and as you may recall, we had some rezoning issues going on, so it took a little while. What I asked them to do is to look at the fees. I asked our inspectors, 4 inspectors, the 2 clerks that work in our department and DPW, to look at our fees dealing with development and see if they are in line, if extra inspections are now required under state law, which we're obligated to follow with regard to construction. And they got back to me in a timely manner, and I've finally gotten to you. As you can see, and I did try to include it, a commentary to explain the differences, but I will go over them. On page 5, with regard to pools, I indicated that we're having some difficulty getting folks to respond to violation notices, and pools are something we do worry about since there's a chance of drowning and electrocution, and so that it's not just us being finicky, there's actual safety issues. And so rather than raising the fees, we thought that a refundable bond, might motivate people to respond more to the violation notices. We hate to start issuing tickets, but sometimes it seems that that's the only way to get folks' attention, and we're thinking maybe a bond would be a softer way to handle some violations that we see. Heating permits. You'll notice that currently we have ductwork and fireplaces. Fireplaces now require 2 inspections, and $20 hardly pays for gas for our inspectors to go back and forth. Also, the ductwork, as we had it priced, was really, the way it was priced was for an addition to a home, not new construction. And the way new construction is being handled now is it's quite an involved system, so you'll see that we have a sliding scale for ductwork. We've also added pool heaters and hydronic heat. I don't know what that is, but I'm told that it's now part of the code, so if you really want to know, I'll get back to you. Next one is miscellaneous fees. Under community special events, we have charged $50. This is for like Art Bash and that level of events. Our DPW advised that Art Bash, for instance, costs DPW $2,000 in man hours. So at the city manager's request, and I'm setting her up for this because I said I wanted 2 cookies for bringing this before you, we are recommending $200 rather than $50. I looked back in my files, and the fee has not been increased since prior to 2000, which is the last files that I have. I do recall bringing it forward prior to that, but I don't have the electronic files, and time being what it was, I don't have a specific date, but it's been a long time. So we are recommending from $50 to $200. Under plumbing permits, we do not have water distribution. It's in the fee schedule electronically, but somehow it never got added here, so we thought we should clean that up. Ice makers and sprinkler systems for lawns are also not itemized, so we have cleaned that up. Under sewer and storm drain permits, you'll notice quite a difference in the fees. The items that you see are for new construction only, and it does reflect DPW's time spent on new construction. And then under water distribution, which is you updating the water distribution in your existing home, those fees have not changed, but we've defined them so that it's clearer to folks looking at the fee schedule. I tried to be brief. I'm sorry if I went too fast or I went too long. Do you have any questions?
Fine. Are there any points to be discussed? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a quick question. Are these fees comparable with other cities in our area?
They're actually less. I do have a list of some of them, and like fireplaces, for instance, an average of 7 neighboring cities, such as not immediately neighboring, but in the Metro Detroit area, whether it's Canton, Plymouth Township, Novi, Northville Township, fireplace would be 90 instead of 40, for instance. Let's see what else. Reinspection fees are typically 40 in cities. We only charge 30. That's why, and I haven't proposed that going up. There were some other ones, and I looked at the ones that I thought were most out of line. I think we feel very strongly in the building department that we want to encourage permits, and we don't want to price ourselves so that there's a lot of illegal work going on. That's what keeps our homes in good shape and keeps the resale value up. We want to see the work get permitted and get inspected, so we certainly don't want to be the most expensive city, and I'd rather have contractors that come up say, wow, is that all, rather than, oh my gosh, you're killing me. So
Thank you.
Any additional items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report. I appreciate the focus on keeping our records up to date. In many cases, this is just housekeeping in terms of itemizing things that have always been there. I'm questioned just more in terms of timing of implication or of making these active. And when I just think about what we've just finished talking about, more than 75% of the city is going to be going through some kind of repairs in the coming weeks and months. And so I don't have a specific motion or suggestion to tweak it other than if there's some way that we could think about providing some relief to our residents and businesses that will be perhaps filing, fees or permits and all this kind of stuff for perhaps, first time in a long time, that we think about the needs of the city and either in terms of timing or increases. You know what I'm trying to say? It just seems like
Right.
we had this really bad thing happen to so many of us.
I agree, and
then-
I know we discussed that this evening, and I think, I didn't see that any of these fees would necessarily be affected by any, whether it's a washer and dryer, for appliance replacement or a water heater, that's not proposed here at all, or a furnace. Those are not fees that are, or even the reconnect for the electricity for those items. None of that's being proposed. A lot of this was for new construction and ice makers and swimming pools and special events. So I think certainly if, council wants to amend the motion and say, December 1st, I don't think there's, October 1st, I simply rounded to the, the next first. That's not in 2 weeks. But certainly, administration has no objection if the council feels that you want to move it to January 1st or December 1st, or I'd go with the 1st because that's easy for me to remember, please.
Well, let me kind of add on to
Please.
what you're saying. What I think you're saying is that perhaps there is an area amongst all our fees that we might want to take a look at for a brief period of time when so much work is being done in town, that we might be able to give some relief on something that might be an expenditure for people.
Yeah, if I may, thank you, sir. I think you're right. As I recall and read through the material, most of these seemed out of scope for the kinds of work that will be happening. I'm thinking more just from the optics and just how this is perceived by folks, and maybe it's a different motion or something that we could do through another forum to find a way to understand the top 5 fees or permits or things that folks are going to need and figure out a way to give us a break or some kind of thing to help us out. It's going to smooth things out. So I'm not making an official proposal. It's probably something for another thing, but something that I'd really like us to think about, because so many folks have enough hassles and issues and things to have to deal with. The last thing they need is additional, costs put on top of it. So I don't have a specific proposal other than please let's think this through for 4,500 people that are going to have to go through this.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, and I did discuss this with our city planner, the fees that we're proposing will not affect anything that's happening right now to any of the residents. It will not tag on. But certainly, we can take a look at something at our current ordinances. Let us go back. I'll sit down with the city planner and see if there's something we can do. But please know that the things that you're considering today will not have any impact to anyone as it relates to any kind of repair or change or whatever. These are all for new construction, some events, and things of that nature, but will not affect the residents.
Thank you for that, and I appreciate you, in your preamble, Ms. Vanson, you mentioned that this was just an unfortunate timing that you had sought to bring this forward, but I'm sensitive to how this looks, here we just finished talking
Absolutely.
about that, and we're raising the fees, and that's not what we're doing for this, and so I just
Right.
ask that we
And I
take
think,
this up another offer.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. I think we can discuss it, staff meeting tomorrow, and figure out a way, because, as I said, we want to make sure that the work is permitted and inspected, and, it's a stressful time, and we
Yeah.
certainly want to be helpful, not add to it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's a good suggestion.
Yes.
Any other discussion on the fee schedule we have before us? Hearing none, then, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M5914?
Kadeko,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Edgar,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a good evening.
And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 4?
Resolution number R2814, matter of authorizing the West Nile virus expense reimbursement request.
Is there a motion to approve R2814?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman,
Support.
support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
Mr. Mayor and City Council, this item appears before you on a regular basis, on an annual basis. This is just a requirement that we must follow so that we can apply for these types of funds. I know in the memorandum that was put together by our Public Works Director, Mr. Derek Schuler, he gives you a history so that you can see any kinds of changes and As you can see, it keeps going down instead of up. But I'll have him explain his memo to you in more detail. Mr. Schuler?
Good evening. I really don't have too much more to add on this, but we basically every year place these briquettes in catch basins as a means of controlling the West Nile virus, and they do have a long residual, so we put them in May and June, and they give us essentially the whole block of the summer for protection, at least from the basin's perspective. And each year we request reimbursement from Oakland County, and the numbers keep going down, as you can see, and I expect that to continue, but it's still a worthwhile effort, and we certainly encourage the city to support this so that we can continue to put these briquettes in each summer. They used to reimburse us on labor, and that fell off several years ago, so this is just a partial reimbursement on the actual product, so on the actual briquette. So I can answer any questions. We're here tonight basically to request a resolution that would authorize us to request that reimbursement. That's the purpose.
Very good. Any questions? Councilmember Stedman.
Yeah, I was wondering, if, are we still doing it the same, what should I say, the same rate, the same amount as we did when we first started this? I mean,
You're talking quantity, I suspect. Yes, we are. Yep, the amount of briquettes, still placing the same amount.
okay, because I've just noticed more mosquitoes this year.
Yeah, and it's important to note that West Nile is the root. The mosquito type, it's a Culex mosquito, so it's a certain type of mosquito that specifically breeds in things like catch basins. So even though you may have mosquitoes around, it probably isn't the Culex mosquito that would breed in this environment. So there are different types of mosquitoes, so that's an important point as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. The county was doing surveys, trapping mosquitoes and trying to determine the Culex mosquito and West Nile potential. Have they been doing that, and do we know if this is effective or not?
I haven't heard any updates on that, Councilman. I attend a meeting every year regarding this reimbursement, and they provide a large presentation, but that was not discussed at this year's presentation at Oakland County.
Thank you.
I think they announced this evening that the first case of West Nile in Oakland County occurred today.
Okay.
Any additional discussion?
And mosquitoes can travel
That's right.
a few miles, so that's an important point as well when you're thinking about this. You know, we're only as effective as many of our neighbors in many ways, so, but this is good practice.
Just a quick question then on that. Are our neighbors also doing something similar?
Yes, I've heard of many of our neighbors also participating. They were at the meetings as well.
Very good. Attorney.
Mayor, I just following up on your point, I saw in the news just before I came over here, and I've got on my smartphone now, Channel 7's reporting that the first case West Nile virus was found in a bird in Oakland County today, so they have detected it in the county.
Very good. Well then, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on R 2814?
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Edgar,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 5?
Motion number M6014, matter of awarding the 2014 to 2016 rock salt bid to the Detroit Salt Company as administered by the City of Farmington Hills and MITN Cooperative Bid Program.
Is there a motion to approve M6014?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Councilmember Hideko.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Edgar. Mr. Sessom.
Again, Council, this is another item that appears before you on an annual basis. I know you've read the memorandum from our DPW director, but he'll go over it for the public's information as to how this project works. Mr. Schuler?
Good evening. This is, it's hard to think about winter at this point, but this is for rock salt for winter maintenance operations. And we did enter into a similar agreement last year for 2 years, lock in a price on rock salt, using Mitten and the City of Farmington Hills, who actually puts together the bid documents for this. So we certainly appreciate Farmington Hills' effort. They're able to secure the best pricing based on the quantities that are involved. And this year, Detroit Salt Company was the low bid, as they were the last time. I believe previously in my memo there are the unit prices shown, and I believe the prices the last time through were around $39 a ton, and now we're looking at $47, $48 a ton. So prices have increased, but Detroit salt is significantly lower than the other two competitors, and obviously they're local as well. So Farmington Hills put out this bid. They opened bids back in early May, and we're recommending jumping on board and recommending that Detroit Salt Company be the certified vendor for the city of Berkeley through the Mitten Cooperative bid as administered by the city of Farmington Hills. Just a note here, we are estimating approximately 1,400 tons for winter maintenance operations, and that's based on our prior history. We did increase that a little bit based on last season as well. So we're estimating 1,400 tons for the upcoming winter season, and then we'll reevaluate that prediction, if you will, for the following winter season. This is a two-year agreement. We do have the ability to opt out anytime if we'd like, but this is a 2-year agreement. Detroit Salt Company, even with its tough winter last winter, was able to reasonably provide us with the salt that we needed, even when times were tough. So we certainly don't have any issues at this point with their level of service.
Very good. Any questions or discussion on this? Councilmember Baker.
Yes, thank you, sir. And thank you for the report and for your work in helping ensure that we have all of our materials in place so that we can have a safe, effective winter season. It is hard to think about winter right now. But I don't so much have a question about this particular contract. I've read through it. It seems to make sense. And although the price increase is unfortunate, it is still the best game out in town. Could you speak just slightly to, is this instead of or in addition to, or wasn't there a product, some kind of juice or some kind of fluid that we use?
Yeah, we've beet juice that DPW has used in the past, but we have encountered some issues with the beet juice. The quality of beet juice that we received was gumming up some of our sprayers. So just to reset for everybody, we do pre-wet. It's called pre-wetting when the rock salt is mixed with brine, and when it's thrown down, it's a liquid, so it's already sort of activated and already working. And we used to actually put some beet juice in that as well, but we found, I believe it was 2 winters ago, we were having some problems with the beet juice gumming up the spinners and the spreaders on the equipment to the point where it was causing us more headache than I believe the benefit that we were getting out of it. So I think that industry, from a quality perspective, needs to just get some standards in place so that we know what we're getting as far as beet juice is concerned. It did proclaim to lower we were able to apply it at lower temperatures, and it was more effective, what was the theory on it, but we just didn't, I haven't seen that personally yet, and with the gumming up, it just took us in a different direction, so we decided to move on. But we're staying abreast at it, and I'll continue to follow it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
No other discussion? Very good. Then, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M6014?
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Edgar,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Edmund,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes.
Thank you.
And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 6?
Motion number M6114, matter of appointing various appointments to boards and commissions.
Is there a motion to approve M6114?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve by
Support.
Councilmember Edgar with support by Councilmember Hideko. Ms. DeSessa.
Mr. Mayor, how would you like for me to handle this? I know there's only one position here that we're considering.
So then,
Would you like for me to explain how this individual will work?
yes, please.
One of our longtime planning commissioners will be assigned out of the to another place out of the United States. Does that make sense? He's going abroad on a work project, and so he will be gone for about a year. And he's been a member of our planning commission for many years, and he's done an excellent job. And Mr. Dean, and we would like for him to stay, but obviously during that 1 year, he cannot be attending the planning commission. So I know the mayor sought out some individuals that could perhaps act for a 1-year period to take his place as a sub while he is absent. This individual's name that we're recommending the council to consider is Joe Angar. Tangari. Tangar, is that how you pronounce it? Thank you. Tangari. Oh, I see now. Tangari. And Mr. Tangari, just to give you a little bit of background, he has a very diverse employment background. He's done freelance. He's worked in advertising. He's even assisted in working at an animal shelter. But however, his key background is in planning. He has a master's in urban planning from Wayne State University. And he feels that he understands our city. He's lived here for 4 years, and he believes that his degree in urban planning will assist him in this position, if appointed by the City Council, to the board. So with that, we are recommending this individual to be appointed for a period of 1 year. And at that point, depending on what happens to Mr. Smith, we will then come back to the City Council and see where we go.
Very good.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. The copy of M6114 I have says 3-year term expiring July 2015. I assume that is a typographical error?
It's just normally what the board.
It's the normal period.
Right.
Fill the rest of.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And he has agreed.
So the remaining portion of
yes.
Mr. Smith's term.
If necessary, until he returns.
Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification, sir.
Any additional discussion on that? Very good. Then, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M6114?
Blanchard,
Yes.
Edgar,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. I'd just like to take this moment to remind our residents that we also have a couple of vacancies on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And if there's anyone that feels that they could fulfill the responsibilities of that position, please communicate with us here at City Hall so that we can proceed and make sure that that committee is, that board is complete. So we're encouraging people to put their name forward for that. Ms. Boucher, please read item number 7.
Work session matter discussing an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 6, Finance Division 2 purchases, contracts and sales of the Berkeley City Code to modify the city's purchasing procedures and regulations.
Is there a motion to approve going into a work session?
Motion to approve.
Motion to
Support.
approve by Councilmember Blanchard with support by Councilmember Baker. Mr. Sessa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I hope that each of you have had spent some time in taking a look at the proposed amendments that we're recommending the City Council for consideration. I know that the City Attorney worked very closely with our directors to make these suggestions. The purpose of the work session is so that the City Council can ask us any questions that you may have with regards to the proposed amendments that we're asking the City Council to consider. And then, obviously, to make any other amendments or changes that you would also like for us to take a look at. If you don't mind, what I'd like to do now is I'm not going to go through every single thing. A lot of the items that are on here, some are points for clarification, and some are points just to explain with a little bit more detail as to how certain processes are going to work. But I know the City Attorney. I'll talk to him. Would you prefer that I just go over some of the highlights and then we address any questions? Would that be okay with you? Instead of going page by page, is that fine?
That's fine, unless you want me to go over the highlights, whatever your preference is.
Okay. No, I'll go through some of the highlights and then you can add
Sure.
anything else that I've missed. Okay. Well, one of the key things, and the reasons we're coming before the City Council with regards to our purchasing is, obviously, when this ordinance was done, times have changed, and obviously the cost for goods and services are different. Whenever we purchase items for the city, we follow this specific ordinance as it relates to purchasing of any item for our community. Anything that's worth over $500, and this is in accordance with the city charter, so we cannot cannot change that, must get at least 3 quotes. So we're not asking for that change. But the cost of goods and services in today's world has changed, and there are very few items that are worth less than $5,000 in today's world, obviously. But we did do a minor survey of our communities, our surrounding communities, to see exactly, what kind of an increase they're doing. And for the most part, again, we get mixed reviews, I think. They're a little more than we are. I'd say the bigger cities, they go up to as high as from 500 to 20,000. And some of the other smaller communities, they're either close to what we have or maybe a little bit more, but not much more. So what I'm recommending to the City Council when it comes to Section 2-128, on that instance, and we're looking at item number B, we're just doing a small increase of about $1,500 and going from, instead of $6,000, we're recommending $7,500. And this way, it gives staff a little bit more of a leeway when it comes to our bids, and gives us a little bit more opportunity to go out and do the right thing. That's one of the big items that I see. And again, as I said, we did survey some of our surrounding communities, and for the most part, I think that would be a good number. Another major item, and trying to look at this very quickly. Would be under exceptions to competitive bidding. That's another main item. I know that some of our, I know the finance director, I think, brought this to our attention, and we're asking that the City Council clarify this matter for us. One item is to make sure that we address the cooperative purchasing items. I know that this is kind of like an understanding that whenever we go to a cooperative entity to purchase our items, that we don't have to go out to bid. And it's understood, but we'd like for that to be written, specifically stated in our ordinance, so that from now on, people know and we know that we can consider cooperative bidding from another agency when we're doing our bids. The other item that's very important is that we're asking the City Council that, again, this is something that we do right now, but we would prefer that it be part of our ordinance instead, and that is item number 5 under Section 2-136, and this is where the council shall have a statement that says, where the council shall determine that the public interest will best be served through the extension or renewal of an existing contract without competitive bidding. And here again, I know that we've done this a couple of times, because obviously it just makes sense sometimes to do this, but we would like for it to be part of our ordinance so that there is no misunderstanding that this can indeed be done. Under Section 2-140, this is under, right now it's labeled lowest responsible bidder. We'd like to change that title to say award of bid. And then under Section 2-143, the waiver, we're asking the City Council to add this. Actually, this is something that the City Attorney is recommending for us to place. And this statement says that the City Council reserves the authority to waive any procedures or regulations pertaining to purchasing in this division if the council deems it is in the city's best interest to do so. And I think we have followed, I know we have followed that, but, and again, this is something that we've looked at in the past, and we would now like for the City Council to consider placing that as well. And I know I've missed a couple of things. One of the other items that I know, again, our staff brought to our attention, and that relays when it comes to bidding for items that the City Council puts out to bid. Say, for example, we have a computer or a vehicle or things of that nature. We would recommend that the City Council, so there's transparency and accountability, where there's a statement that indicates here, and John, help me out here in terms of where that statement is, but we now ask, which section is it?
2-139.
2-139, thank you. I knew I missed that one. The sale of property.
I don't see any changes.
I know, and I'm looking at that
No,
one.
there are no changes identified because we wanted to bring this to council as a discussion item. Right now, as written, there's nothing that says a city employee cannot bid on any city property being sold or auctioned. It was discussed at the staff level that although that is common, it's also been observed that there have been some other communities where that has created some appearances of impropriety in cases where perhaps it was thought that city employees had insider information or perhaps better information than the general public on, say, the condition of a vehicle that's being auctioned off or a specialized piece of equipment and that sort of thing. And so we thought that we should bring that to your attention and get some direction from council as to whether you want to allow city employees to continue to be eligible to bid and purchase on the city assets that are being auctioned off, or do we want to prohibit it? And then depending on that direction that you give, we would write that into the ordinance to make it very clear. It's fortunately not an issue. It has not been an issue in Berkeley. We currently have an administrative policy. Ms. DeSessa probably can quote you the chapter and verse of it. I can't remember the number. But we currently do have a city policy that before, a written administrative policy that before a city employee is allowed to bid or purchase on city property, they must bring it to the city manager's attention and get the city manager's consent. But we were just, since we were opening up the ordinance and going through it section by section, I think we had a healthy discussion about it at the staff level and just thought we need to bring it to your attention and seek your guidance.
Very good.
So, Mr. Mayor, those are some of the key items, particularly with regards to this ordinance. As the city attorney mentioned, we do have an internal policy that addresses bidding for items by city employees, and yes, they do have to get permission from me first before they do that. And but we would prefer that it be part of our ordinance instead, and we're asking you to consider that suggestion. Of course, it's entirely up to you.
How often do city employees bid on property that might be for sale?
Not very often, Your Honor. I mean, it's rare. It's very rare. I know that on some of the smaller items, like say a computer, I'll get one or two employees, but we don't do that very often. But to the best of my knowledge, it's not very often. Mayor Cummins.
Sabuda.
We go to bid 2 times a year, once in the spring, once in the fall, and we use an independent auction house to sell our equipment. So an employee would theoretically have 2 times per year to purchase on an item.
Okay.
Thank you.
Discussion on this matter. We can start with this one and then work back to some of the others.
Yes.
Any thoughts?
I see no problem with the employees being allowed to bid on.
So you would
I would
kind of say leave it the way it is.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Councilman Blanchard says the same.
Question of clarification. So this is a public process, right? So it's not like there's anything in secret.
Correct.
And also, just because an employee seeks to bid on something doesn't guarantee that they will win, right?
Correct.
It is just
Correct.
part of the process. They'll bid like everybody else.
Yes.
So I share my initial reaction, of course, pending further dialogue here. My initial reaction it doesn't seem like it's being abused. Sounds like it's fair, open, and transparent with an administrative policy for notification. So I don't see any inherent weakness with maintaining it as is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody?
I don't have any issues with it. Seems to make sense.
Okay.
As long as they're up front, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so the sense of the council then is that we leave that one alone.
Right.
Okay. Now,
Mr. Mayor.
working backwards. Oh, somebody.
Excuse me, if I may.
Yes, Mr. Sabuda.
Thank you, Your Honor. The intent was to get a positive statement into the ordinance saying that we could.
Could, and we,
Right.
I don't hear any objection
Right,
to that
okay.
either.
So we're going to add the positive statement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Thank you.
The city attorney will work on that.
Yes.
Now, the one before that is the waiver of, Mr. Attorney, can you explain that one a little bit to us?
Yes, working backwards.
Yes.
Most purchasing ordinances that I am familiar with, in fact, Berkeley's is the first one that I saw that didn't have it, usually have a provision that allows the council to vote in cases you deem appropriate to vary from or not follow the purchasing agreement. I mean, it typically comes up, I mean, we do have provisions in here for emergency, but sometimes it comes up when you have situations where maybe it's not an emergency, but it's an urgency, or cases where you believe following the purchasing protocol to a T would be futile because there is a scarcity of vendors or suppliers for that particular product. Or you just view that for the particular transaction following the purchasing procedure is too cumbersome or lengthy and is actually contrary to public interest. It's something that you would rarely apply, but as I said, it's fairly commonplace in purchasing ordinances. It was missing from ours. It's something that I flagged in my review, and it was my recommendation to the city manager and staff that we include it so that the council does have the authority to sparingly use that in appropriate cases.
That makes sense to me. Any discussion on this?
Looks
We got the sense of it. The sense of the council is we should do it?
Yes.
So in a circumstance, say we're trying to solicit bids for something, we can only get one bid, and it's above the threshold. We need to have a certain amount of bidders, but it's something that we need to do, and it's something that we've done our research. Maybe, like you said, there just aren't a lot of vendors who are offering that particular service at the moment. This would allow us to then accept that.
Right, that's a perfect example.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Very good. So you got that sense. Now, the next item, going backwards, is the lowest bidder issue.
Section 2-140.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, the purpose of that was to clarify it was felt when we discussed it at the staff level that the title to that section was really misleading, because just the title alone makes it look like we're going to award to the lowest responsible bidder, which is what we will do in most cases. But when you actually read through the text and the content, you'll see that, again, there are cases where the council may not, you may exercise your discretion to award the contract to someone who isn't necessarily the lowest bidder. And that does happen from time to time. Usually it's based on
Reference.
quality or experience or professionalism or some other factor aside from price, where, again, most of the time we'll go at the lowest price, but there are times where it's more of a quality-based thing. So this was intended just to make fix the title so that it didn't appear to be misleading, that we are always automatically going to award to the lowest responsible bidder.
Yeah, I think that's a good
More
change.
of a clarification. Yeah.
Is that the sense of the council as
Yes.
well? Very good. Now, the one before that is renewing contracts without competitive bid. Is that the next one?
Right, and I think that Ms. DeSessa explained that pretty well. Again, there are situations where you have a vendor or a contractor or a consultant who you've been working with. The contract is expired or is expiring. You want to continue on, you're satisfied, and this allows you to make that decision if you want to without having to open it up for bids. You certainly can. There's nothing that prevents you from doing it, but it just gives you the discretion to extend or renew an existing contract without going out for bids.
Very good. Is that, any concern about that, Councilor
The only
Blanchard?
question I have on that is there's no time limit on, or length on that. We could do that forever. Should there be a time limit on that? We can do it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or
Are you saying before they would have to rebid again?
before they'd have to rebid it, yes.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Councilman Kideckel.
I think what Councilmember Blanchard's saying has some merit to it, because we have to also keep the best interest of Berkeley in front of us, and therefore, if after 3 years they rebid or whatever time we pick, I think that would be something to take under consideration.
I don't know how common that is, or maybe the city attorney is more familiar with that, if we should do that, or.
It would prevent complacency.
Yes.
And
That's a good word, complete.
because we might become very comfortable with some contractor, and there might be better options out there. Councilman
Yes.
Boyd.
No, please, go right ahead.
Thanks. This is cool. What I love about this process is we get a chance to talk about this before we actually have some form. So I'm celebrating the fact that we're having a work session. So, so thank you for that. At least some positive tonight.
We will.
As far as so it's like if this. So I like the idea of being deliberate so that we don't have complacency and things like that. My concern is it almost could feel like term limits, like we must do that. And what I'm wondering is if I don't want it to kind of feel too either or-ish or wishy-washy. I either want us to have the discretion to be able to evaluate each and every renewal opportunity on its own merit, given where the state of the city is, the state of the vendors, the state of the services, make the best decision possible at that point, and then trust ourselves and future councils to do the same thing next time. So if we force a limit, first of all, I'm not so sure if years is the right thing, because some contracts could be a 4-year contract and you've tripped the extension, you've tripped the limit before you even, so maybe it would be frequency, not to argue with myself on that same point, but so I don't think years is the right unit of measure. But secondly, I really think that if we mean to give the council and administration discretion, then we should give us the discretion. Otherwise, and trust that we won't be complacent. So it really gets to the decision-making process about determining what public interest is and if it makes sense to engage in that extension of an existing contract or going out to bid. So, that was just my thoughts on that
Mr.
artificial
Mayor,
nature.
I just want to clarify with Councilmember Baker. I wasn't saying after 3 years they're gone, like a term limit or whatever. I was saying they just reapply. Yeah, they could be here for 20 years, but just to keep everybody up front.
But the purpose of this item is to prevent going through that whole process and giving us the option of avoiding it. And, the more I think about it, the more I think that this council or any subsequent council would be wise enough to know when it's time to not continue, the contract, and would be willing to say, no, it's time for us to look outside here again.
I think it's fine.
I
think-
would trust.
I
I would trust.
Mr. Mayor, the way it's written, you really would have to make that decision, you or
Yeah.
whichever council, at each time that contract expires
That's right.
or elapses,
That's right.
you would be making that decision. Do we go out for bids, or
Leave it
do we just want to extend it or renewal? So it's really not a matter of complacency or forgetting about it. You would have to deal with it each time. It's just at that time you can decide your comfort level, or do you want to test the waters and see what else is out there?
That being said, I would be more inclined to agree to leave it alone.
I don't have a problem with it.
Councilor O'Rourke?
Yeah, the circumstances that you just mentioned, Mr. City Attorney, I think that that's very important. So if we have a service, we're getting a service provided from somebody, and we're very happy with the service, and we know that the contract expires, and we come up to that contract and we discuss it, or whatever council is here, they discuss it, and this is in the best interest of the city.
Yeah.
Let's continue on now. In which case it comes to the point where the council that's sitting here decides I think it is in the best interest for at least to go out to bid on this and to see what else is
Yeah.
out there, because we do owe that.
Yeah.
I certainly, excuse me, hope that, as you mentioned, that they would have, that kind of, wisdom, I suppose, with what they're doing. And, at some point, it is worth certainly going out. And we've done that on this council for a number of things. And there are other things that we, continue with because of the way it provides. So I think trust in the residents and who the residents trust to sit in these seats in the future, I think is a critical aspect of that.
I guess my, thank you, if I may just add on to that, well said, is the timing involved to make this decision point. So, for instance, I'm no contract attorney, but it would seem to make sense that we would want to have this decision point with enough lead time that if we determine to
Definitely.
go through the bidding process, we would actually do so without putting the city or the services in jeopardy. Meaning to come to, decision point, 2 weeks before that's set to expire, and basically say, therefore, we must just renew with Charlie Brown or whatever it is, because we're out of time. I don't think that would be wise governance. So we'd want to just figure out when the contracts are due to expire, work backward X number of weeks or months, or whatever the thing is, based on history of bidding for that particular type of work, right? Because each has its different frequency and cadence and all that. And then making that the decision point, so that if we say, yep, that's good, then the renewal process is smooth and straightforward. We still mind our P's and Q's and all that good stuff. But and then if it's time to go out, we have sufficient time to do so to not put any services at risk.
That's good. That's the sense of the council. Now, we're moving back to the second last one, the cooperative bidding.
Oh, item number 3, yeah.
Well, we have another one in between?
No, that's it. That's 2,
Oh,
136.
yeah,
Cooperative
that's, I'm
purchase-
sorry. I
cooperative
was,
purchasing.
Yeah, you went back too far.
yeah, I went back too far. I was 2 or 3 beyond. That one's fairly self-explanatory, just to give us the opportunity to take advantage of the cooperative purchasing. I think we had an example tonight with the rock salt, and there certainly have been others where sometimes the best deal is to jump on board with the county and Farmington Hills or some of the other communities that Derek mentioned. I know that we do that for rock salt. I think we do that occasionally for vehicles when we buy through the county fleet plan, that type of thing. It's something I believe we've been doing here, and this is a matter of the ordinance catching up with the practice, and we just wanted to put it expressly in the ordinance that this would be an authorized method of purchase.
Very good. Is that the sense of everybody, that this is a wise practice?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very wise practice.
Indeed it is. And according to my notes here, we're back to moving from 6,000 to 7,500. Have I missed one?
Well, the only one was in 2-129. That's one, and it's fairly self-explanatory. Just our ordinance was a little antiquated and reflected the times where information was communicated almost exclusively by newspaper, when we know that nowadays when it comes to bidding and soliciting proposals and so on, it's often done with the internet and through sites such as the Mitten site and other types of things. And again, this is a matter of the ordinance language catching up with what is the preferred practice, and so we are expressly authorizing these alternative ways of seeking sealed bids.
Very good. All this makes sense to everybody? Very good. And now the increase of $1,500.
Yes.
Right, and that was when we, again, talked about that a lot. The 6,000 had been in place for a while. Some of the department heads felt that it was overly restrictive in the sense really we hadn't kept up with inflation. It was a relatively low threshold. It created extra work at the staff level, and there was concern that it possibly even, I'll use the word, scared away bidders who maybe didn't want to have to, for a relatively small contract, have to go through all the things they have to do for a sealed bid. So the thought was, okay, if we move it up from 6,000, what do we move it to? And Ms. DeSessa explained how surveying other communities. They go all the way up to from a little bit less than us all the way up to 20 or 25,000, depending what their preferences are. The thought here was we don't need to take a giant leap. We can take a small step and see how it works. So the thought was, well, let's go up to $7,500. Let's see how that works. If it's still viewed as too restrictive but seems to be working okay, we can always revisit this again in the future, or we can always turn it back. I want to remind council that this threshold we're talking about, moving up to $7,500, is only the threshold for requiring sealed bids. We will still require, as we always have, competitive bids for anything over $500. It's just that we won't require the formal RFP and the sealed bids and the formal bid opening and so on until we get to that $7,500 threshold.
Very good. What is the sense, Councilmember Baker?
Thank you. One other piece that's easy to lose among all the important things we've talked about here, but I think it's important. I like the tone. There's some changes that are being made in here that you could look at it just being clerical or tuning, but I appreciate the sensitivity of it. So it kind of goes back to when some of these ordinances were written. There's lots of the pronouns in here, like it talks about him and he and his, asserting that a certain gender was going to be.
We tried to catch those and clean
I
those
just
up,
wanted
too.
to compliment, those are the things, the good housekeeping that we're doing, which I think really reflects the kind of character and tone that we seek to embody in the organization and the leadership. And so I just wanted to, apart from the important things that we've just discussed here, the procedural things, that's important too, right? These are our ordinances that reflect how we think about ourselves as a city. And so I love that we've found as many of those as we can and sought to change those from him or his or those kinds of, or he to the role that it represents. So I think that's important, and I'm glad to see those things in here as well. So thanks for taking the time to do that.
Thank you.
Very good. Any Councilmember Stedman?
Just under 2128, general policy, A, the third line down, I think that word should be practical instead of practicable.
Whoops. Where's that?
Practicable. You strike through possibly, and you have practicable written next to it.
Oops.
If it's practicable, I would suggest we make that change.
Very good.
I'm not sure if it is practicable. Actually.
I don't actually know what that word means, but.
Practicable. Okay, we will take care of it. Thank you.
We'll take a look at that. There is a
Yes.
word, practicable.
Yes, there is a word.
And practical is just a question of which is the one that best suits here, but, yeah.
Okay, we'll check it out.
Very good. So have we given sufficient direction then so that this can be rewritten, fine-tuned, and come back to us for?
I think so.
I think so. Thank you very much, Council. I know that staff worked very closely on this, and I know if they had their druthers, they'd prefer a little bit more. But I think it's important for us to be accountable and to be transparent. And so I'm only recommending just some minor changes. And of course, the other things that this ordinance does include that didn't in the past, as I said, is clarify some other matters, such as can employees, bid for things, the use of electronic entities, things of that nature. So again, the city attorney will put this together, and then we'll bring it to your attention. I believe it requires 2 readings.
Yes.
And so we will have the next reading at the next council meeting, first reading.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now we move on to communications. Next item, Ms. Boucher. Who should be first?
Councilmember Edgar.
Councilmember Edgar, it is.
Thank you. I'd like to encourage citizens to go to our website where you'll find the flood event update and you'll find the claim forms again, as was brought up in earlier discussions. It's an important tool for us all to use, as well as our mobile site. So please take advantage of those. We've all got to use our patience Many of us were affected. I was too. I'm right in there with you, and just as we're waiting for contractors to notify us, the city is waiting for the powers that be to tell us our next move. So communication is key. Please check the website. It's there for you to use. I'd like to thank Mr. Tangari for taking over for the year. I'd like to tell you how excited I am about Cocoa Fairfields having a sidewalk. It's just awesome. And the Public Works Department, kudos. I know you're working overtime and doing the best you can, just as we all are with this horrible situation.
Thank you. Councilmember Kadek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to give kudos to the Parks and Rec Department for a wonderful JC jamboree that we had a few weeks ago. The park was crowded, the kids were having fun, the adults were enjoying themselves, and it was a real good time. This past weekend we did have Cruise Fest, and I think we had a lot of media attention. Cindy and Mark Kuhn were able to be interviewed by Channel 7 the morning of the Cruise Fest, and the mayor was on a couple times, and I think the mayor's word of distraction from the situation could not have been said better. The volunteers that came out, the street was crowded, the people were dancing, having a great time. The band ended at 11 o'clock, the Magic Bus. People didn't want to go home. They were really, really enjoying themselves. And I want to thank Chairman Mark Kuhn and his entire committee and all the volunteers that came out on that evening, the parade participants. It just made for a great evening. And I want to thank the DPW and the public safety for their work during that. To the flood, can't thank the DPW, the Public Safety Department, enough administration for their follow-up on what's happening. I visited some homes today and spoke with some residents. And as one lady said, I'm thankful I got to hug my daughter. She made it in the paper too. I'm thankful I got to hug my daughter as an egress window blew out and hit her in the eye and just missed, getting her directly in the eye, just under her eye. We have to be thankful that people are coming together and helping each other. A gentleman that had major surgery not too long ago, his son and his son's friends and neighbors were coming to help him. And we got to think of the people that didn't make it, like the gentleman whose daughter just graduated Berkley High School a few months ago, was coming home from Macomb County, called his wife and said, I'm on my way home, and never made it and passed away. So in the grand scheme of things, we are fortunate, many of us. Heirlooms are gone, memories are there, possessions, some can be replaced, but a person cannot. And I want to wish everyone the best of luck as they continue to go through this unthinkable process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Tarbrek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like my colleague just said, the Dream Cruise timing was perhaps unfortunate for some and fortunate for others who kind of were able to get immersed and have a little bit of escape from dealing with basements and carrying out trash and the frustration that came along with having a basement full of water, whether it's sewage or rain or whatever the case may be. It's equally frustrating. But I do want to just spend a minute before I talk about some flood things to talk about the Cruise Fest and the success of the Cruise Fest. And I think we were all there. you know, the Cruise Fest, again, a timing issue. And we're not celebrating and we're not forgetting about what happened in the city. This is something that's planned over the course of the year and something that we put a lot of time and resources into, and something that our residents not only love, but also people come from all over and come to our city on Friday for our parade, and Saturday coming through Berkley and frequenting our businesses. You know, a lot goes into that, and I think it got a little backlash from natural events that we couldn't control. But I do want to thank Mark and Cindy and the entire Cruise Fest committee, public safety, DPW. I mean, every year, you know, the parade and all of our events seem to go so smoothly, and the entertainment is great, and people are out having a great time. You know, we talk from time to time about signature events, and the Cruise Fest may not be just something that Berkley can call our own, but it's something that we also come together as a region to celebrate Woodward and to celebrate our history and to celebrate the classic cars and to just get together and have some fun. So again, I do want to thank them. They do a tremendous job every year, and I hope they certainly continue to do that. In terms of dealing with the flood and the events that happened, I'm one of the fortunate ones that doesn't have a finished basement either. So possessions that I lost were probably possessions that I could have cleaned out before that I hadn't. And you know, we did lose some things, but certainly not, you know, to the effect that my family, I have a number of family members that live in Berkley, my parents, and, you know, they're losing things in their basement left or right. I know many of my colleagues up here with finished basements and very important things down there that were lost, and you know, they're not going to be coming back in material form. But I do want to echo something that the mayor said earlier in his comments at the beginning, and that's the critical importance of communication. And not just in times of a disaster, but all times. I mean, you kind of set the precedent for how you communicate. You're communicating every day when something like this happens. People are going to, you know, expect that, and we're going to be able to continue that. You know, in the age of technology, there really isn't any good excuse for us or anybody. I mean, I'm not trying to throw the city under the bus here, but to not over-communicate. It's so easy with our cable station and with Facebook and with Twitter, email, the mobile app, all of the things that we have at our disposal to use to communicate with the residents. And it's not just communication on behalf of the city to the residents. It's communication from the residents to the city. And I want to thank all the residents who have communicated with the city, whether it was directly tonight at this meeting or, you know, prior, you know, over the phone or filing their claims or sending emails. All of those things, you know, they're all very valid concerns. I'm frustrated like all of you. I'm presuming all of you. There aren't as many people in this room right now. Many of them have since left, and I don't blame them for that either. Especially with the trash situation. I'm one of those people that I have 3 young children. I have 3 young kids, and I don't like them running around in the front yard right now because there are things everywhere, and there are constantly people coming by, and you know, they stick out to the road a little bit in traffic. I mean, there's just a lot of things that happen. But, you know, I have a lot of pride in my city, tremendous pride in the city of Berkley. It's the city I grew up in. It's the city that when I was able to purchase a home, that's the place that I chose to call home. It's where my wife came from the west side of the state, came here to live in Berkley. It's the place that we decided we wanted to have a family and raise our children in. My family still lives here. I'm blessed to have many family members that live in the city. In fact, after I got my wife to come over here, her parents came over here as well from the west side of the state. And there's a reason that people want to live in Berkley, and people come here and they don't leave. And that doesn't mean it's perfect. It's not. I don't know that any place would be, and there's not always a great way to handle things that come up, and it's not. I'm not saying that we weren't prepared. We were prepared, but we were not prepared for what happened, for that kind of torrential rain and the impact and the stress that it put on our system, on our sewer system, on our water. I mean, it's not something that anybody could have planned for. Like the mayor said, it's not something you just pull off a book and say, okay, number 1, we do this, number 2, do this. It impacted nearly 3/4 of our 2/3 of our residents, depending on the numbers. I mean, that's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's sad to drive up and down our streets right now with the number of you know, basements that are out on our lawns. But I also agree You know, I choose to live here not only because I have so many family members around here, but because of the services, DPW, public safety, Parks and Rec, you name it. They did a fantastic job, and not everybody may have seen what they were doing and have been doing over the past week, but I assure you, they have been working, and they've been working extremely hard, and they've been working overtime to try to get these things cleaned up. You know, the trash situation, we have trucks, the trucks are full, we have nowhere to dump them. Soccer's full. I mean, it's not like we're not doing anything or don't want to or we don't care. I know our motto is we care, and I know that it's sometimes used sarcastically, but I'm telling you, we care. We're all impacted by this. We're all residents, and we certainly want to do everything else. But it's not just for the services. It's also for the quality of its residents. I'd venture to bet that a lot of folks probably met some new neighbors on Monday, whether they were out, you know, in the rain. I mean, my block was out and a dog was running down the street like it was a little pond, and it was strange, you know, to see that happening. But, you know, we had neighbors coming from all around, and we were just kind of talking, and really we were commiserating because, well, how much water do you have right now? How much water do you have? And, you know, what can we do? And I know I met some new folks as well. But it's even after that, the people that banded together, as Councilmember Kadeko mentioned, and they came together to help out others. You know, and I don't know that he necessarily liked this, but I know my dad went to his shop and grabbed all the sump pumps he could grab, probably, I don't know, 20, 30 sump pumps, and was handing them out to whoever he could hand them out to. Maybe I over-exaggerated the number, I'm not sure what it is, but I know he was. And I know people were very thankful for that, and it's something that he had, you know, access to sump pumps, and he knew that his neighbors and people needed them. People have been helping, you know, get things out to the curb, and maybe those things are still at the curb, but I promise you one day those things will be gone, and we will move on from this, and we'll move on as a city, and we'll move on together. And the events, the flood, all of that has only reinforced my pride in the city of Berkley. It hasn't diminished it at all. And finally, we do have a couple Parks and Rec events left, even though summer is quickly coming to an end. We do have family movie night Saturday, August 23rd. That's at 6 p.m. Bouncers at 6, I should say. The movie will begin at dusk. And we have an ice cream social Tuesday, August 26th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. So those are the last two events of Summerfest. And since we will not have another meeting until well into September, I do want to wish all the students who are going to be going back to school in that time a great school year. I know they are all very thrilled to go back, as are the teachers. The ones who actually are thrilled to go back are the parents. They get the kids out of the house a little bit, and for the first time, you know, I guess I'll kind of be one of those. I have a daughter who's going to be finally in kindergarten, and Addison, I tell you this at home, but I'm telling you again, do your homework and stay away from the boys.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Councilman Baker.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. A couple of quick thoughts as well. Darren Kagan once wrote, "Bad things do happen in the world, like war and natural disasters and disease. But out of those situations always arise stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things." So again, bad things do happen in the world, like war and natural disasters and diseases. But out of those situations always arise stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That resonated with me and the stories that we're hearing from around this room, and the stories that you have to share for yourselves doing extraordinary things. In addition to the kinds of things we've already heard, I know, for instance, the Durst lumber. So one of the things that we needed to do was clean, right? So we had 2 feet of sewer water in our basement. That is an absolute mess. It's just terrible, right? But hey, you know, we're okay. So Durst, instead of just saying, hey, we're all out stuff, they put a guy in a truck and drove him to Ohio, sent them out there to buy a bunch of stuff and bring it all back and help out the community. And those are there are so many stories like that of folks doing what they can, not only taking care of their own needs, but helping neighbors, loaning equipment, whether it's just, you know, some food, or whether it's, you know, cleaning supplies or assistance, helping hand. I see it up and down the street. I had, like all of us, we had great opportunities to talk with so many people about what's been going on, and every single message was, in addition to what was lost and how the memories will still be there, and the mess of the paperwork that we're all going to have to deal with, but that uplifting sense of ordinary people doing extraordinary things in times like this. is continues to make me proud of this community, proud of our residents, my neighbors, my family, the folks around us here that step up and go above and beyond. Now that doesn't mean this was perfect. I think as we've heard and we've experienced ourselves, if I can take liberties of a second quote from Cool Hand Luke, you guys probably know what I'm going to say. What we have here is failure to communicate. So it's failure's too strong a word, but I couldn't pass up the joke. But we cannot take communication for granted. It's an emotional time. It's an emotional time for us all. We all cope with stress. We all cope with loss in different ways. And what may appear to be a clear, lucid, rational dialogue or series of steps to take, sometimes blah, 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 I'm hurting right now, right? That's what people need. And they need to be heard. They need to be felt. They need to be understood. And so that notion of here's what to do, we should sound like a broken record, talking about the kinds of things that need to happen. Here's what we do know. Here's what we don't know. Here's how we can help. Here's where we need your assistance, right? We have every opportunity to continue to provide that role because we have an additional responsibility. We have an additional opportunity to serve the residents and businesses of the city. As was mentioned earlier, most of us, our public safety, public works, and library staff, so many folks have their own traumas and tragedies to cope with, their own loss and their own memories. But yet, they set that aside and come to serve. We can and should do that as well. As I think about the kinds of things that we can do, we've surfaced a couple of ideas earlier tonight. As we think about the ongoing journey for us here, a couple of quick thoughts, of course, to continue to ramp up our communication efforts, to leverage the channels that we have and to find some new ones. Community, neighborhood captains or something to kind of use as liaisons and coordinating messages. I think we can and should continue to update our social media feeds and the sites with continued updates, even if it's just facts and figures, like make sure you get your make sure you're up on your shots. If you deal with that sewer water, you need to get your hepatitis A and your tetanus shots and stuff like that. That could just sound like more blah blah blah, but that's important stuff that people need to know about. We can and should find a way to help ensure that the permitting and the license process is fast and efficient for the residents as we finally do get the trash out of the basements and away from the curb so that we can restore that beautiful neighborhood downtown and neighborhood feel that we have and cherish as part of this community. That will be back, I absolutely agree. As we go back to doing the repairs on the inside, whether they're minor or a complete redo, we can and should have mechanisms to streamline that process, not cutting any corners. We will not allow unsafe practices to occur when we rebuild and remodel. That's just not the right thing to do. But we can and should find ways to make it as smooth and easy as possible, so that when somebody does need to go through that step, maybe here's all the things you need to do in one easy set of transactions or something. As far as the communications go, I was thinking about how we could activate our volunteer committees. So earlier in the session here, we appointed another volunteer to step in and serve. We have a communications advisory committee. Maybe there's ways that we could activate them to help monitor and speak on our behalfs with the social media feeds and things like that, or at least to serve as a conduit or a liaison so that folks don't feel like they're not being heard, right? You notice a lot of the language I'm using here is one feel and emotion and stuff like that. There's a heavy intellectual aspect to this which completely gets lost in times of emotion, and I want us to be sensitive to that and folks just needing to be heard. Again, I'm exceptionally proud of this community, a tremendous outpouring of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and that story continues, right? Tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow, most of us are going to wake up and see our same basements out in the front yard that we saw when we went to sleep tonight, and that's our opportunity to help move us forward, right? This is what people are going to remember. I guess I'll close with, from the historical committee's perspective, what story will we tell about our city? How will we look back on this? We have our stories of the blackout, right, 2003 and all that stuff. We all have our little punchline of how we remember it. What's our story going to be about this? We're in the middle of writing that story right now, and I know we can and will write the story that reflects our city's character so that we can live up to the motto that's on our signs. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stedman.
Okay, I'll try to make this brief. First of all, the claims that have been mentioned to file that are on the city website, I think it's my understanding that this is actually quite important for you to do. Even if nothing comes from the city, which it probably won't. But it's the information that the city of Berkeley needs, and all cities around here need, in order to send it to the county, so they can send it to the state, so they can compile everything and get some FEMA funding here. It's that is the beginning of the process. So please look at that, and even though it may seem like a futile effort to you, it is not. It will have a great impact on this city, or it can. I'm not saying it will. I never want to say that. Yeah, but it can. It can only help. And tell your story. You know, I don't know if you want to like itemize or just say I lost $8,000 or $10,000 worth of stuff, or maybe you have a personal story. But put some meat into it so the city can use it to take to the county, to the state, and to the FEMA officials. Somebody parked in front of my house who was from Ontario, a group of 4 gentlemen, and they asked if it was our garbage pickup day. And I thought that was kind of funny. And they said, "You really think that we have this much garbage all the time?" But they had not heard that there had been a disaster in our area. So that's why it was never advertised. My daughter didn't hear about it in Traverse City. So that's why people still showed up for the Dream Cruise, because nobody knew what had happened earlier in the week. Thank you to Mark and Cindy. They do a wonderful job every year, to their committee, and also to our administration and all of our staff. They do a wonderful job. I wanted to mention one thing about the flood. When that rain was coming down and so on, and while the water was still up, my granddaughter and a friend of hers went out walking in the rainwater. Of course, they shouldn't have been doing that, but they did it anyway. I don't know if somebody did this themselves. I think somebody may have physically done it. Or it could have been picked up by the force of the water. I don't know. But the manhole cover in the corner near my house was removed. And my granddaughter's friend stepped in it, in the hole. And fortunately, my granddaughter Fallon was with her, and she pulled her out. And because the suction was quite great. So, but there's also another thing. To remove those man covers, it's my understanding that it causes the water to go in much quicker than it should. And it does impact on how fast your basement will flood if those man covers are not on and the sewers are not able to withstand the amount of water going in. So that's all I have to say tonight. And we'll all get through this.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
I have 3 things tonight, Your Honor. I'd like to comment on the flood also, just so people understand the magnitude of it. I was working with public safety that night. We received 600 calls in 4 hours for people needing assistance. During this time, the Oak Park 911 service went down, and all their calls were routed to us. And also because of that, we started picking up some North Detroit 911 calls, which our operators had to repatch back to the correct, not through the 911, but for the regular phone system, back to the correct people to get assistance to them. So it was a very, very busy night. Officers left their flooded basements to come in and assist. We had many officers that were in waist deep and officers that were chest deep water wading into houses to assist residents because they were complaining of arcing and sparking and smells of gas. So our officers were going in, shutting off electricity, shutting off gas, and trying to make sure that we didn't have any fires or explosions. So I definitely want to thank the public safety guys. They were in there working, and they were fantastic. The other thing, I want to talk about the Cruise Fest for a minute. The Cruise Fest was a wonderful event. Mark and Cindy, of course, as everybody said, done a good job. We had a crowd estimate by the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, and the estimate of the crowd was between 28 and 30,000 people. Now, those aren't all Berkeley residents, folks, because we don't have that many residents. And a lot of our residents were home cleaning up their basement. So there was a lot of out-of-town people that came into Berkeley and saw our city at one of the best times. If they stayed on 12 Mile and just saw the city, they saw some of the best of Berkeley. Hopefully they didn't get off too far and see the mess that was there. Also, I'd like to thank the volunteers that made the the whole dream cruise success. We had agencies in here supporting Berkeley. A lot of people didn't even see. We had the Michigan State Police and the State Police Bomb Squad in our sector to provide support to us. We had the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. We had the Oakland County Hazmat Unit, and we had 5 bomb explosive dogs working the crowd to smell for explosives from the Highland Park team. So there's a lot of activity goes on that people don't see to make this a safe event for everybody, and I just want somebody to know that. In the last
that there's a person when that phone rings. So again, I'm going to read it one more time. It's 248-658-3330. I must have said 00. Yes. But it's 30 and then option 2. Okay. I'll make sure this goes out on Facebook. We'll do an email blast to everyone again to make sure that they have this information. I ask the residents to please go to our website. A lot of the data is there. We did this as quickly as we possibly could so that that information was there. And, you know, I've heard from other individuals who are anxious to go out and help and just again, you've heard the stories from the city council. I guess I can add to that as well, because I've spoken personally with many residents regarding this issue. Again, I ask everybody to again please go to our website at www.berkleymish.org, or else just pick up the phone and we'll do our best to address your questions. Believe me, if I knew exactly when our garbage would be picked up, it would be all over the place. But we too, as many of the council members here have expressed, that we're just as frustrated sometimes. But we are not the only city that's being affected. It's this entire region, and that includes more than 13 communities, and including the cities of Warren and Livonia and Detroit. And so, again, it's not just us, but it's everyone. And we ask to please go to our website. We'll give you as much information as we can. And again, we thank you for your patience. And I'd be more than happy to meet with any resident. I know I've done that when they come to my office and explain. As Councilman Stedman mentioned, you know, please fill out those forms. They're helpful. We can only do what we can. We'll send them out to the insurance company. They'll take a look at them. I have to thank my staff. They've done a tremendous job. Many of them have worked around the clock. And again, these are individuals that nobody will ever know. Our public works crew, I think they're at the point of sheer exhaustion. They've worked around the clock. They've done their best to collect trash. As I said earlier, we're one of the few cities that are actually going out there and collecting the trash ourselves and taking them to our transfer stations. I don't know of any other city that's doing that. And we're using our trucks and our staff, and it's heavy work. I don't know if anybody has ever collected trash, but it's not easy. So please bear with us. And again, our public safety officers, as Councilman Blanchard mentioned, they've gone above and beyond. And again, there's many stories that we can share with you that's not out there. But I don't know what I do with the staff, and especially administration. Many of the employees are helping me to gather some information. The reports that I have to put together for the Oakland County Homeland organization, you cannot imagine the kinds of information that they're asking from us in such a short period of time. And I think all of us, I know that I've worked a tremendous amount of hours. Our mayor, I have to give him a little bit of acknowledgement. He's been with us at many of these meetings that we've held, and he's he works and he has all the other things that he has to do, but he's there. And Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. I don't know what I do if you weren't there immediately to help us address some of these issues. So thank you, sir, and thank you, everyone. Thank you, council, as well, for all your work as well. Many of you have come up with many suggestions. I'll take them back to staff again. We'll do our best to work with them. When I was an assistant to the city manager in LaPorte, Texas, I dealt with hurricanes, and This is not a hurricane. And oh my God, instead of dealing with flooded basements, we dealt with homes actually being underwater. And so it was a tremendous task, but I learned a lot from that, and I know that I was able to work with staff on some of the things that we've done. We'll do our better. We'll do a better job on communication. Obviously, that's something that's key here. But again, it works two ways. Please go to our site, pick up the phone, or come to City Hall, and we're here, and we'll do our best to answer and help in whatever way that we can. So thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And if I just thank the Dream Cruise people. I know it couldn't have happened at a more inopportune time, but as many of you have said, maybe this is a perfect timing to just help us take our minds off it, even if it's just for a little while. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And thank you, City Council.
Mr. Sabuda.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney.
A couple of things, if I may, Council, non-storm related. First is the city continues to work with residents and business owners and property owners in the city to try to satisfactorily address parking issues that have arisen. One of the things one action that has been discussed that we've been working on is a valet parking ordinance. I want council to know a valet parking ordinance has been prepared and is currently undergoing review by staff. I suspect it'll be probably coming before council in the near future for another work session, but what this valet parking ordinance would do is for businesses that are serviced by valet parking, it would require a permitting process and would also include various standards and regulations that we don't currently have governing how the valet parking takes place and where, and having a firm plan in place that is approved by the city, and hopefully with a better notification process for the city as well when the plan is deviated from. So it's certainly not an entire solution, but it's one step toward hopefully creating a better situation for businesses and the neighborhoods that surround them, as we want our businesses to thrive, but not at the expense of our neighborhoods. We also want to continue to try to facilitate ways where we are not creating seas of asphalt when we already have parking areas available, but we need to figure out ways to better utilize and more efficiently use those parking areas, again, in an orderly way, orderly, non-disruptive way. The other issue relates to our marijuana vote that will be coming up in November. As council knows, so it was discussed, it's been discussed at several meetings, but certainly at the July meeting, we do have a proposed charter amendment by initiative petition, in other words, resident initiated petition, that if it passes, or what's proposed rather, is that nothing in our code of ordinances shall apply to the use, possession, or transfer of less than 1 ounce of marijuana on private property not used by the public, or transportation of less than 1 ounce of marijuana by a person who has attained the age of 21 years. In accordance with the law, the city clerk did transmit the proposed ordinance amendment, a charter amendment to the governor's office and to the attorney general's office for their review. The attorney general has already responded back. I believe the council has seen the attorney general's letter. I just want to highlight a couple of points for you where the attorney general does point out that there is nothing in that proposed amendment that limits the responsibility of a Berkeley city police officer to enforce the state's criminal laws, which include those applicable to marijuana. The Attorney General also points out that in his review of the ballot language, and I'll just quickly read this passage. The Attorney General says, "I have examined the ballot language for the proposed amendment as set forth in the petition. The ballot language is inaccurate because it does not inform the voters that the proposed amendment conflicts with state law. The ballot language also does not inform the voters that state law will control regardless of whether the proposed amendment is adopted." So ultimately, the Attorney General has reported and advised that he believes that this proposed charter amendment would conflict with state law. However, he recognizes that nonetheless, under our law, it still goes to the voters on the November ballot. But just to kind of help council understand and the general public that what our Attorney General is telling us is that even if this is adopted, state laws will still prevail, and our police officers are still empowered and obligated to enforce those state laws relative to marijuana, at least until such time as state and federal law is changed.
Very good. Thank you. In keeping with the legal theme, there was some discussion this evening about whether we have experienced a flood or a sewer backup. We don't get to make the definitions of what the event is to be called. That becomes a matter for the legal profession and the insurance industry. And so the language that one city may use might be different than another, but it has absolutely no bearing on the legal status of how it is to be understood. Now, our people are hurting, but I am inspired by their great spirit of cooperation, of helping one another, even in the most difficult times. I like what Councilmember Baker said in particular. We need to communicate what we know and what we don't know. There is often an assumption that if you are a municipality or a state government that you know a lot more than you actually know. And somehow, by implication, you are withholding some information that you have. We don't know a great deal about the procedures of FEMA. These approaches go through the governor's office, and each day they issue new requirements for more information and different types of information. So I like the notion of separating on our website the things we know and the things that are as yet unclear and not decided, or in the province of someone else to decide. Another item is a concern about rumors. I was told very definitely, with great certitude, that a local city was writing checks to people who had water in their basement. Indeed, a humorous notion. But in our distress, sometimes we're willing to hang on to any straw, any hope. But let me assure you, there's no local community writing checks. We are dependent upon what the state might possibly be able to do, or the federal government. But one way or the other, I am impressed by the collegial spirit of our community. People coming together, even in their pain, even in their distress. Irritable sometimes, looking at your prized possessions out on the sidewalk, and then somebody going through and trying to pick something out of it. It adds insult to injury. But the character of our people will triumph. we will get past this, and we will continue to celebrate being in one of the greatest cities in America. On that thought, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn by Council Member Kadekel with support by Council Member Baker. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Edgar,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. The meeting is adjourned.